Well, before I begin the message, a few important things happened here this week. You can see the pictures behind me. And back in February of this year, as a church, we voted to purchase 15 acres across the road here, which is now just growing, beans over there? I'm not a farmer. I don't know what's over there. They're growing something over there. It's legal. And and so this past Thursday evening, because it was Bill and Doris Klein, sold the church the land. It just took a long time to get some tests done and get the documents drawn up. But here you can see that Bill and Doris are signing that, and Randy Pickard is the chairman of our elder board. Oh, he's also signing it. I got to be there as well. It was a neat time, and so at the time also we gave Bill and Doris half of the money for the land. I'll just tell you, it was $75,000, and so they went right out and bought an expensive car, and they're driving around, top down, Bill's hair's flying in the, reliving childhood or something. And then we're going to give it the rest of it in the next year or two. The way it's drawn up, we sort of have some options as to when to pay the rest off, or we may decide not to. But no, we will do that. So part of our harvest offering, which comes this fall, will be to pay off as much of that or all of that, or who knows. Try to raise as much as we can. But, I want to thank Bill and Doris right here, right now, for them opening up their hearts to allow us to do that as we think forward to the future of what could be over there. And we gave you guys some applause back in February, but that wore off. So why don't we just do it again for you guys? Yeah. Fantastic. Obviously, we did not buy the land because we wanted to be farmers. We wanted to buy the land in order to put up a physical church building. And so that's something for us as a church to be looking forward to and to prepare for, to plan for. The other important thing that happened here this past week, I told the second service because the count was in by then, but David Swain, I don't know, David, yeah, he's in the back right now. I think everybody knows David Swain. He's like for whatever reason, we all know David Swain, and so David, we had the vote on David becoming like the adult associate director of all things that I don't do. So that's a lot of stuff for David. So why that title, I don't know. It just seemed like a good title at the time. But David, no one voted against him. Can you believe that? Yeah, no one voted against him. I was told later by numerous people, it's because I didn't vote. That's what they said. Now, we're so glad. And David started this past week here. And it's been I just tell you, it's been so significant, just for me, to have David here and to take over, do a lot of things that need to be done. And so we're so glad. And I'm excited not for just myself or for the staff, but for this church, because of who he is and the difference I believe that he'll make. Now, there's one other thing, and that is Bobby's our youth guy. He's the guy the tall, thin guy that makes the announcements. Bobby is getting married on Saturday to his girlfriend Sarah. I don't think she's here right now, just sleeping in. Yeah. She works a lot. She's a nurse and those things. But Bobby's getting married Saturday, and so I'm sitting there thinking back, man, what was it like? Can I even remember like the week before I got married? And some of you are right now, you're thinking about, wow, the week that I got married, and about all you can think. I mean, I know you're here, and I know you'll be here, but I'm guessing on your mind, it's hard not to think about getting married on Saturday. I know you're excited about it, and Sarah's excited about it. I mean, you need to be excited. If you're not excited about getting married, let that be a sign to you, okay? So I know Bobby is, as he should be, right? But I also know they're not waiting until Friday to try to put things together for Saturday, because he's on staff, so it's been going on for a long time now. They've been putting all these plans together with Bobby and Sarah, and some parents and in-laws. They have a say every now and then about something, and trying to accommodate what this is going to be like and look like. And so there's this preparation for Saturday. Starts at 3:30, doesn't it? Yeah, 3:30. And the other thing, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, Bobby instructed us that he won't be here next Sunday. I don't get it. I'm going, don't you love Jesus? You don't love Jesus? But Bobby won't be here. I don't know what that means, but anyway, we'll sort of give him the benefit of the doubt and let him have next Sunday off. Okay, we'll just do that because we're a loving church. But what I know is this: when we think ahead, we act different. When we think ahead, we act different. When we let the present consume us, or let the present dominate our thinking, we will act then another way. And my thought is, please think ahead. Please plan. Don't let today, or let's say, Labor Day weekend, and it's important, and, some people are out doing other things, and that's fine. But don't let the present consume your thinking, which is what a lot of folks do because of the upset or the turmoil of today. I mean, Rick, it's hard to me to think about tomorrow when I have all this right now. I don't have this solved, this is not figured out, this is looking bad, and so how can I be over here when I have all this now? And I get that, because we all have that stuff of today, but please press past today to where tomorrow comes in, because you will do different today when you think about tomorrow. Just like we're going to plan for a building. I mean, if this was a part of the plan. Here again, we're not trying to be farmers. Bobby, we're planning for this Saturday because something's going on, and if we don't plan, it won't be what it could be, won't be what it should be. Listen, if you're starting school, maybe you just started, I don't know if it's kindergarten or college. It may not seem like it, but you will one day not be in school. You will one day either hopefully not drop out. You will graduate. So I say, prepare today for that day. The other thing is, maybe you're young, maybe you haven't been married, maybe one day you want to be married. I say, prepare now for the person that you want to be on your wedding day. What do you want that event to be like, or what type of person do you think you need to be the spouse that most contributes to your relationship? Don't expect the other person to make up for your character deficiencies. Sometimes we just kind of waltz into a relationship and hope that it works out, or the other person will just understand. And they might. But be the person of character so you can largely contribute and not take away from the relationship. And so plan for, let's say, marriage, or plan for a relationship even now with what you do with your time in life. What story do you want to tell your future spouse, or stories? The other thing I know, that Bobby's not just looking forward to this Saturday. He's looking beyond. He's planning, they're preparing. Because they're looking to buy a house. Or they bought a house. I don't know exactly where all the closing stuff that gets all in. But don't you hate closing? If you bought a house recently, and it's getting worse, I'm telling you now. We bought a few homes in our day. It used to be easy. I remember the first house we bought, we kind of waltzed in there. I wrote him a personal check there. I'm serious. The last time we bought a house was over in Pittsburgh area, and it was, oh, golly, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that, 7 years ago. And completely changed since the whole housing thing that happened back in 2008 and that. And so it said, well, we have the money for the down payment. Oh, well, you need to show us proof. We can show you proof, but we need to know where that money came from before it got into, let's say, that account. I'm going, what? Yeah, I know it's in that account, but where did it come from to get into that account? And part of you want to say this, ain't none of your business. I mean, that's what I want to say. Or then I got in my job, well, we dug it up in the Folgers coffee can behind the apple tree. You know, it's not funny to them. And I go, what's this all about? I just know that it's changed, but they're buying, they bought a house, and I'm guessing your thinking is, we're not just buying a house for me and Sarah. Here's what I think you're thinking. You're thinking probably, I think that maybe someday we may have some little people that live in this house. Am I right? Yeah. And so you're not just buying it for you and your spouse, because if you did that, you could have like an upstairs efficiency apartment, somewhere down the road. But you're thinking, if we get the upstairs efficiency apartment, we're going to be stepping all over each other, because there's going to be, I don't know how many kids you guys want, but it may be a boatload of kids. It may be a quiverful, right? It may be all over the place. Where if one or two are missing, you don't even know it, because in the play they're all around. I don't know. You might know it. But they're planning for that stuff. They're preparing. So because of that, we're going to think different. We're going to purchase different. We may spend more because we're not just thinking about now or after we get back from our honeymoon. We're thinking about a year, 10 years, whatever, 20 years from now, in what we may have in this house and things we want to do. And so they're preparing, they're planning, and it changes what you do now. My thing is, we often don't prepare and plan enough, or not far enough out. Some of you are looking, and some of you are so young you don't even think about this, but some of you are already, you're thinking about retirement. And they say basically you can't think early enough about retirement. I mean, if you're 10, think about retirement. That's what I tell you. I mean, yeah, you got 2 piggy banks or whatever, but plan for retirement, because it'll be here before you know it. Yeah, that's crazy, yeah? Talk to anybody that's getting ready or have been in retirement. They'll tell you how fast it went. I don't know. One day I was in a little league. Next thing you know, I'm 65 and I'm retired. They don't know what happened. It just happened. And so you want to think different and act different, because probably someday you'll no longer be working, and there should be, and just in wisdom, a certain amount of income, so you don't have to be borrowing, begging, or stealing from everybody else. It's a good idea to prepare and to plan for retirement someday, although you may be 30, 40 years old or 20, and it's not tomorrow. Still, here again, if you have kids, probably someday they may go to school, they may need some money for something. You may want to put a little bit away every month, because chances are they'll be older. And chances are, whether they go to school or not, there's going to be a need for that. It's not easy being young today. If you think it is, talk to a young person. I don't know if it's ever easy being young, but I think it was easier being young when I was young. I think. There wasn't as much stuff. Distractions. It seems like so many young people are worried so much. And they're worked up and they can't relax. And I just want to say, man, if you can't relax now, wait until this other stuff kicks in. If you can't enjoy life now, oh man, wait until, I don't know, and it's different. But I want to say this. Whatever all this stuff is, as you think ahead and plan for the future, if you don't, chances are your future won't be what you want it to be, or it won't be what it could be. Planning and preparation is one of your best friends. I go, outside of Jesus, planning and Jesus is one of your best friends. But yet it's one of the things that people don't do that much. And so I've been talking about these 7 essentials these past few weeks and the things that must be, and like authentic faith, spiritual disciplines, moral boundaries, healthy relationships and all. And I go, and what that needs to all be built upon is this, and I call it the foundation. The foundation. Foundation is essential when this building is on a foundation, right? I didn't build it. I didn't see it go in, but it has a foundation, right? Some of you guys have built this thing. It has a foundation. Please tell me it has to. No one's excited about the foundation. No one's there. Man, did you see the foundation at Union? Awesome foundation. It's great. Concrete and rebar. Man, the beautiful thing. Beautiful foundation. No one's excited about a foundation. You can't even see it, but if it's not there, guess what? Building doesn't last very long. Falls apart, cracks all over the place. It's not safe. It'll be condemned. We can't use it. See, you have to have foundation. And you also need a spiritual foundation. If you don't have a foundation, these things, these essentials, they're not going to hold up. You can't do it. And so life really, so much of life is about foundation. And this is what Paul says. He says, according to the grace of God, which was given to me as a wise master builder, I laid a foundation. And another is building on it, and that's fine. But let each man be careful how you build on your foundation. See, you can't lay a foundation other than the one that's been laid. Paul says the one that I laid, that's Jesus Christ. And whether we build a church, the foundation is more than concrete and rebar. The spiritual foundation is Jesus Christ. As Bobby and Sarah get married, they're going to be in a relationship until death do us part, and worse, better or worse. I said my kid, thicker or thinner, or whatever that is. But you're going to be together for the rest of your lives until maybe someone passes away. But the foundation had better be Jesus Christ, and you guys know that. It had better be. Or the building of your life, or the building of your marriage is going to teeter. Listen, it's going to be tough at times anyway. There's things that's called the storms or the winds of life. You know that. You've weathered that. Or the flood that comes. The storms, and I go, the things that sometimes take you by surprise. And you didn't see it coming. Or you did, but you still weren't prepared. You didn't know how to prepare. And all of a sudden, one day, bam, it just knocked you upside the head or the heart. And you're teetering about some. Your life had better be built on the foundation of Christ. In Ephesians 2, I'm going to have a verse up there, but it says the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, Christ Jesus himself being the cornerstone. And what we're talking about really is it's the teachings. It's the doctrine, it's the beliefs, it's the truths that Christ and the apostles spoke, wrote down, taught us. These things are true. This is who God is. This is the Word of God. It is true, not just written by men, but inscribed by God, God-breathed. And so it is without error, and it's all it's writing. And so we build our lives upon the truth of God and Christ himself. And if you don't, life's going to be a lot rougher than what it would be otherwise. And so this This is the foundation. And here, the next thing is, I'm going to talk about, there is a building. No one just puts in a foundation, says there. We're not buying the land, putting up a foundation and say, there, we're done. You go, that's not very smart. That's like a waste of time and money. Everybody knows if there's a foundation, there's something that's going to be built on the foundation, or why bother? And so there is the building. And part of the building is the church body. Also, it is our lives. It is our family. It's the building of which we build. And so Paul says this. He says, listen, if any man builds upon the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, that's the first materials used. Or if they build with wood, hay, and straw. Those are like the two things you can use to build. And so if you build with gold, silver, precious, now obviously we don't physically build with those things, although at times they did. If you build with that stuff, you're going to have a different building than if you build with wood, hay, or straw. So part of it is be careful how you build. Every builder is building with something. Every Christian, you're building, but you're building what? You're building with something. What is it? Is it with the gold, silver, precious stuff, or is it with the stuff that's going to waste away the wood, hay, and stubble? The first part lasts, the other stuff doesn't. It may all look good, it may all look like it's going to last, but it doesn't. And that's why Paul says, he says, let each person be careful how you build. That's what he says. You be careful now how you build. When we build, we just don't go over there and somebody bring a truckload of wood, somebody bring a truckload of drywall, somebody bring a truckload, and we'll just tack her up. You know what you have? You have these plans. And you pay money for people who are licensed, like architects, and there's all these codes we have to have for safety reasons and that. And so we're really, really careful of putting up a physical building. We have to be, and we should be. I know when a couple churches that we built or additions we made in other places, and you know, for me, it's frustrating and it's expensive for them to do all the work, but yet it's worth it. I mean, you have to have water drained in a certain way. Really. I remember when we were first building, we were an early church, young church, maybe 4 years old, and we'd bought this property and we're going to put up this building. And so, well, somebody needs to come out with this, a survey needed to come. And he had this backpack and it's bouncing off satellites, and he's the topography and the elevation of land, and he's walking all over the place and figuring all these things out. And we'd have to landscape it so the water runs a certain way. And I remember back then we had to pay him like $8,000. And when you're a young church, $8,000, that's a lot of money. I'm so glad we did that. Because once we put up the building and once the rains came, you saw why that was a good use of $8,000. You saw the water running exactly how it should be, so it didn't flood the church, and so our parking people weren't walking through puddles. It went right into this pond we had made and used the dirt to help building. There you go. They knew what they were talking about. To me, I wouldn't even have thought of that. I go, there you go. But you got to be careful. And a part of being careful is planning ahead. I go, keeping eyes wide open. If you're a parent or you're a grandparent, you tell your kids or grandkids more than once what? You be careful. They're going out with a group of friends. You be careful. They're going off to college, wherever they're going. They're in the military, going to the workplace. Now you be careful. Why? Because we know, don't we? All this stuff, what I call the landmines, sometimes the people, and how they want to influence you in certain ways. I remember we had moved back here. Our youngest son was left back in Pittsburgh area, and he had a summer job. He was working at some factory, and he was telling my wife what some of the guys would come up and talk to him about, and he's like shocked. These guys are like 40, 50 years old, and he's, 19 or something, and they just come up and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm going, oh my. Now you be careful. And part of the careful is this, not everything that looks good is, right? Not everything that looks good is good. Not everything that seems right is right. And just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean that you should continue doing it that way. The other thing is, just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean that you should. How about that? I remember when we were young, we would tell our parents, well, so-and-so down the street, and he does, that's what their family does. They get to stay out later. They don't have to go to bed that early. They get to eat. You know what they said? You know what they said, don't you? Basically, that's them, that's not us. They can do whatever they want, but don't try to use that against us. It ain't working here. I don't care what's going on down the street there. See, what you have to be careful about is this thing, and it's called the test. A test is coming. See, you have to know a test is coming, or I don't think you're going to prepare very well. Oftentimes in school, when one teaches, a hand goes up, and you know what the question is? You know. Is that going to be on the test? What they want to know, do I have to write this down? Do I have to remember this? Is this going to come back around somewhere where it counts? Because right now you're just talking. And I just wonder, is this going to be on the test? I know that, or the other thing is, when is the test? I need to know when it is, because when I know when it is, I get ready for it. I'm not ready a day before the test, but when the test is, I'm ready for the test. See, when you know a test is coming in the future, you will act different. You will plan, hopefully prepare for that test. Now, there's not a test. I'm not going to bother. But God says there's a test. That each man's work, that is what we do, will become evident. For the day will show it. Because it's to be revealed with fire. And the fire itself will test the quality of each man or each person's work. Don't tell me you didn't know a test was coming. I used to hate the days, surprise quiz. What? You didn't tell. That's what's called a surprise. Well, here, it's not a surprise. You all know. A test is coming. It's called the judgment for believers. There is a judgment that's for believers, for Christ's follower. A test is coming. And fire reveals your works or your life. See, fire burns up the wood, hay, and straw. It doesn't last. The wood, hay, and straw, it still works, but it wasn't done with the right, let's say, faith. It wasn't done with the right attitude. It wasn't done for the right reason. And so that stuff gets burned up. The work could be the same, but the materials could be different. Oh yeah, there's a judgment. Judges how we acted while we were alive on this earth. Can I tell you something? Heaven will not be the same for everyone. It will not. Eternity will be different based on what we did and why we did it while we were alive on earth, and the test is coming. You better believe it is. See, there is this thing. It's called eternity. I believe we don't think enough about Jesus, and we don't think enough about eternity. The tendency is to be too consumed with what's happening now in and on this earth. Know what's going on, but don't let it drive you. Don't let it consume you. Have you gotten to the place in your life where you're old enough to look back and the things that had you all worked up, you're thinking, why did I let that get to me? It seemed important at the time. As I look back, it wasn't. It wasn't that big of a deal. I do that sometimes, and it bugs me. Why did I let that? It shouldn't have. And so living today with some of the stuff that gets you going today and that it shouldn't, certain things that aren't that big of a deal want to yell and scream at you or wave its arms and yell and get attention. And sometimes you just need to take a step back and go, it's not that big of a deal. So this thing called eternity, you know eternity is going to be here someday. You know life on earth is short. You know we're about off this earth. You know. And to be okay with that. See, this is the thing. It says, if any man's work which he has built upon it remains, he shall receive a reward. Test is coming. If any man's work is burned up, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as through fire. And so it's not that it's a judgment of salvation, yes or no. That's not the judgment. The judgment is either your reward or your loss of rewards. To look far enough into the future is one day I will be tested, and there will be a grade. There will be a reward or a loss of rewards. Heaven's not the same for everyone. I want to live now because I see that. It'll be here before I know it. I want to prepare now for that day. It's like keeping one eye on the world in this life and the other eye on eternity future. And living with both of them in mind. But see, when you look far enough ahead, it'll change how you act now. So we're prepared for that judgment. So we're prepared. And so we receive the rewards. I believe Paul was motivated greatly by that day and of the rewards coming his way. Well, that's selfish. You know, if that's selfish, that's a legitimate selfishness. Because God says, you know what? This is what's going to happen. So you live now for then. Because the other thing he tells us, Jesus says, look, listen. Behold, I'm coming quickly. He is. Life goes quick. He's coming quickly. And my reward is with me to render to every man according to what he has done. Not according to your doctrine, not according to your statement of faith or your belief system, but what you did as a result of your doctrine or your statement of faith. It's not enough to know. The Bible always is on being and doing, not just knowing. So let's build your lives, your relationship, the body of Christ, even the physical building, on the foundation of Jesus Christ. Because he's coming quickly, quicker than what we'll ever be aware of. Would you pray with me? Lord, thank you so much. Would you help us think about you and think about eternity more than we do today and all these other things? Because when we do, we'll think different and we'll act different. Lord, help us be prepared for when the day comes. As we're prepared for our wedding day, for our graduation, for our retirement. Lord, help us to think ahead and prepare well so there's no regret. I pray that right now in Christ's name. Amen.